Good evening, everyone. I'm Chandra, for those I haven't yet met, and I'm a CBA alumna from 1991. And it's wonderful to be back here in Syracuse. I get to come every 2 years at least now. And I really want to appreciate Mr. Conroy and the other people I've served on this committee with, old friends, and the students who I will soon be able to call fellow alumni. So thanks for being here. I have the distinct honor and privilege of introducing our first Distinguished Alumni Award recipient for the season, Dr. Dominic Adornato. He's being honored posthumously in the professional category as a physician of neurosurgery who embodied Lasallian principles throughout his career. He was born a first-generation Italian-American to a family of modest means on the north side of Syracuse. He not only attended Christian Brothers Academy, but was noted as an exemplary student and an integral member of the high school football team, and a master accordion player, all at the same time. Although his interests were varied, one thing I learned from speaking with Dr. Adornato's family was that he always saw medicine as his calling, and he consistently worked toward this goal until its achievement as an established neurosurgeon, serving the community in which he grew up. Dr. Adornato attended University of Buffalo. In line with his value of service, he was in the Army Reserve and a member of the Alpha Phi Delta Foundation, the Italian heritage fraternity with a mission to provide service to the community and humanity. After completing his medical education at Loyola University, he specialized in neurosurgery, one of the most lengthy and arduous subspecialties in surgery at the Cleveland Clinic in Ohio. While this is impressive enough, Dr. Adornato was not only interested and invested in his own welfare, he had met his lifelong partner in high school and had married, and thus was studying and raising 3 children while in medical school. He lovingly raised a total of 10 children while achieving his degree, completing his residency, and starting as an attending surgeon at St. Joseph's Hospital here in Syracuse. Literally coming full circle and fulfilling his dream of supporting his community's health. The sheer time commitment of neurosurgery didn't faze Dr. Adornato. He was active in service to his alma mater and volunteered as an emergency doctor at Christian Brothers Academy football games throughout his career. He never left his job at the office either. He always kept a bag of equipment in his car for patient evaluation. His son, Anthony, recalls many times that they were on their way to family events and would stop by to perform some house calls to check on various patients around the community. After his death, many patients wrote to the family to share personal stories about how Dr. Adornato impacted their lives. He treated his patients as family, and his commitment to his community mirrored the commitment to his family, always available, always respectful of the humanity around him. Dr. Adornato was honored throughout his professional career in many ways. As a fellow, he was awarded the William E. Lower Prize in Neurosurgical Research, and during his tenure at St. Joseph's, he was instrumental in the hospital becoming one of the top 100 hospitals to achieve magnet recognition for nursing excellence. His dedication culminated in St. Joe's awarding him the Herman Dubanoff Prize, as well as dedicating an operating room in his name. Dr. Adornato passed away on June 1st, 2010, and is sorely missed by his family and the neurosurgical community in the Syracuse area. We remember him today and would like to award his lifelong dedication to Lasallian ideals with the Distinguished Alumni Award tonight. Accepting in his honor is his wife, Virginia.
Thank you, Chandra. I will now make our next presentation. Robert Halson, class of 1970. In the Sunday Gospel 2 weeks ago, a couple of the apostles were wrangling for prime real estate in heaven next to Jesus. The Lord dressed them down with the last shall be first and the first shall be last message. Now, when it comes to musicians, Some will be quick to put up their hand and ask for priority seating in the pantheon of post-earth or whatever. Some are a bit over-eager for grandeur. Tonight, however, we gather to celebrate a musician who demurred at such opportunities, who was drawn to the Lasallian rather than the self-serving ones. And that wonderful man is Bob Halson. As a CBA student in the 60s and 70s, he was blessed to have caught the ear and the eye of our dear Kent Renson, teacher and music man extraordinaire, who led the band and directed the musicale back in the day. Bob played saxophone, flute, and clarinet in the band, and ably met Mr. Renson's request that he learn upright bass to play 1 year in the musicale. One totally terrific opportunity came through the Renson channel. It seems that Kent had connections at SU, and a bass clarinet player was needed for an orchestral performance on the Hill. And high school Bob Halson was drafted for the job. Amazingly, it turned out that the conductor of that performance at the Setner Auditorium was none other than Aaron Copland, arguably the greatest American composer of all time. As an aside, if you don't know who Aaron Copland is, there's the door. Anyway, so upon graduating from CBA, Bob attended the Boston Conservatory of Music, where his studies led him on the path to be a music educator. While on that path, Bob proudly reports that he played on the conservatory football team. After a little bit of digging, it turns out that he and some of his classmates played pickup games in the park across from campus against a group of local homeless men. But who's quibbling? Another cheeky college moment came along when he snuck into an appearance at nearby Harvard by Leonard Bernstein and managed to meet Lenny, no less. Upon graduating, Bob went on to a 42-year career as a music educator in junior and senior high schools. When I asked him what instruments he plays, I got this reply: I taught band and orchestra, so I can play all the band instruments. I do sound bad on some of them. I can play all the woodwind instruments, as I was a woodwind major at Boston Conservatory. I can play all the orchestra string instruments, as I taught orchestra for 17 years. This is good. I do play some banjo since I retired. I got pretty good. 3 of my neighbors moved away. Then he delivers the fatal blow to mere mortals like me when he says, and I play piano and guitar. Like he took a weekend to learn those, I guess, and shame the rest of us. While he was teaching at Norwalk High School, one of his students was a guy named Vince Mendoza, who went on to write musical arrangements for such luminaries as Joni Mitchell, Sting, Elvis Costello, and many others. Later, teaching at a high school in Tampa, the band Bob inherited when he started only had 8 kids in it. Our Bob blew it up to 150 members through his joyous and excellent advocacy. Most notable, though, in this long career of his, in a worldly way anyway, is the Guinness Book of World Records honor that he achieved with his music program in Central Florida, recruiting and assembling 838 string players for a performance of Pachelbel's Canon to raise money and awareness for the orchestra program he led. As super cool as that was, I will say that the Bob Halson achievement that most caught my attention and humbled my heart was to learn that he brought a busload of inner city kids from Tampa Bay Tech High School to play in the St. Patrick's Day parade in New York City. Most of that group of kids had never been outside of Tampa, and it was the first time they'd ever seen snow. So we don't have to strain our imaginations to think that for many of them, it is still their most cherished childhood memory. Bob's colleague, Colleen Strom, took over for him when he retired 7 years ago. She had really gotten to know him during the Guinness Book endeavor. And she says, Bob was a wonderful mentor. If you had a problem, he could help you put it in perspective, saying, you can't take life too seriously. And she goes on to report, it was very hard for me to replace him because those kids loved him so much. And he instilled the love of music in them. He's still missed in this district 7 years later. Bob Halson is a natural encourager and a believer in doing God's work in big or seemingly small ways. And for me, he clearly has that most coveted of human traits, a servant's heart. That is why we are ever so greatly honored to honor him tonight with the CBA Distinguished Alumni Award for Bob Halson.
I want to say what an honor it is to receive this award, even though I could not attend the dinner. I want to thank Bob Halligan for taking the time to make sure I could receive this award. I want to thank my wife, Eileen, and my neighbor, Barbara, for putting my name in for this award. CBA was special. I participated in band, chorus, mixed chorus, and folk group. Kent Renson was a special teacher. He gave me many great opportunities playing in band and musicals. Without his constant support and hard work, I would not have become a music teacher for 42 years. Because of my time at CBA, I attended Boston Conservatory on a scholarship and had a wonderful career teaching music. I am overwhelmed with gratitude to have been selected to receive this award. I am so very honored to have my work recognized by the Distinguished Alumni Committee. Thank you so much.
It is my honor to introduce Captain Don Tarquin, U.S. Navy retired, as a distinguished alumni this year. He is one of 2 service members that we are pleased to honor this evening. No matter whom I talked to when researching this honoree, the same adjectives came forth without any hesitation. Don is a good man, a great guy, loyal, honorable, patriotic, and a great gentleman. Exhibit A in this regard is the fact that he will anonymously pick up the restaurant tab for a service member whom he sees out. Exhibit B, which comes from a very reliable source, is that he is a great husband. This seems to sum up the quality of man that Don Tarquin is. Don attended CBA at the Willow Street School, graduating in 1954. His graduating class was a very accomplished class, and tonight, Mr. Tarquin adds to that legacy. Many of the plaudits for this class came initially in the athletic arena, as this was the heyday of CBA football on Willow Street. Don Tarquin was a member of the 1952 and 53 football teams, which have been inducted into the CBA Athletic Hall of Fame. Don would tell you he was not a key member of these teams, which had many illustrious and decorated members, including his good friend, Chuck Zimmerman. Outside of athletics, this class had its students who achieved great things, like acceptance to highly selective colleges, individuals who went on to highly successful careers, who played significant roles in helping to improve their communities. Don Tarquin is the second member of this class to be selected as a distinguished alum. At the end of his junior year at CBA, Don decided to apply to the U.S. Naval Academy. He realized that he could not afford to go to college on his own. As a testament to the quality of person and student that he was, Don was selected to attend the academy upon his graduation in 1954. So began his military career, which would take him to the submarine force. His first choice was to be a Navy aviator, but like many others, his eyesight was not good enough to follow that path. So, as he says, he settled on the next best thing, which was submarines. Pretty ironic, air, underwater. After serving on submarines, Don would now say this was the better path. He served 26 years in the submarine force, 24 consecutive years of sea duty, which at the time was a record. Captain Tarquin's career success in the Navy and beyond was significantly impacted by his experience serving on the staff of three-star Admiral Jerry Miller. Admiral Miller was the commander of the Sixth Fleet in the Mediterranean, and Don served as operations officer. Admiral Miller was a very inspiring individual for our honoree, who helped shape the type of officer Don would become. Don's naval career was highly accomplished and successful. Many honors, commendations, medals, promotions, and more stand as testament to that fact. His service included command of Submarine Squadron 7 based in Hawaii, and ended with a Pentagon post as Deputy Commander for attack subs. I don't know, Hawaii, Pentagon, seems like that was a step down, but that's just me. Moving on. Like many of us, rising up the ranks and leaving the field and colleagues behind creates a bit of emptiness. Office life was not quite as good as life on the subs. Don appreciated the interactions with his fellow officers and crewmen during his assignments to the various subs he served on. After 30 years, Captain Tarquin retired from the Navy, but not from working. Upon retiring from the service, Don was hired by and became president of Sergeant Controls, which specializes in submarine and aircraft parts for the military. The company grew significantly during his tenure. While working for Sergeant, Don helped form and became a co-chair of the Submarine Industrial Base Council, whose mission was to lobby Congress to maintain funding for the submarine force as a vital part of the U.S. military defense strategy. In both of these endeavors, he experienced great success. However, the award is not just about career success. Commitment to community and focus upon others is a hallmark of the Saline education and is a focal point for being selected as a distinguished alumnus. Don Tarquin did not miss this part of his upbringing and CBA experience. Some of his focus on others focuses on his past naval experience as he volunteered with and became president of the USS Tucson 770 Club. The USS Tucson is an attack submarine named after Don's post-Navy home of Tucson, Arizona. The goal of the club is to build awareness in the community for the crew and the documentable exploits of their namesake vessel. While doing this, the club develops activities and opportunities to link the crew with the community with the hope of boosting crew morale and building community support for the sub and the Navy's mission. And this has proven to be highly successful. Upon retiring from the corporate world, Don did not retire. He moved into teaching at Catalina Foothills Church School in Tucson, Arizona. He spent 5 years teaching math to juniors and seniors. He described this as the toughest job he ever had. I can relate. I'm sure there's a few of us out here who can do that as well. This definitely gave him an appreciation for his teachers, but the job also gave him the opportunity to enlighten his students and most likely inspire some of them to go on to do bigger and better things. I think it is safe to say that this path was not about the money, but was about providing something for those students and for the school. While teaching, Don had the opportunity to serve as a chaperone on some school trips. One trip was to an amusement park in Los Angeles. He reports that he probably had more fun than the kids, just watching them interact and enjoy themselves. After the teaching stint, Don, as he says, got kicked upstairs with an invitation to serve on the Board of Trustees of the school. This volunteer position lasted 10 years, where he served 5 years as president. Here he had the responsibility to not only look out for the school's success, but to ensure the success of all the students at the school as well. Upon retiring from the Navy and taking the job at Sergeant Controls, I backtrack here for a bit, Don met his wife Janice, whom he married in 1999, celebrating their 25th anniversary this year. Now that Don is truly retired, he enjoys his life with Janice. He has written his autobiography entitled Submarines, Targets, and Other Stories, recounting his first 75 years. He published this himself to provide his family and friends the story of who he was and where he had been. His current hobby is, as he says, resting on his laurels. However, he did inform me that during one of our conversations I had interrupted a pretty hot poker game. An accomplished life indeed, service to country, to his crewmen, to the Navy, to his students and their school, and to the community. Don Tarquin was really always been focused on others. We are all charged with becoming and being good people. Good people put others before themselves. The success of those others is what makes the good person successful. Don's friends, his wife, and his life story offer the testament that he has achieved this very difficult goal. Don, we thank you for your service. We thank you for your efforts on behalf of others, and we are honored and blessed to be able to feat you as a distinguished alumnus of Christian Brothers Academy. Unfortunately, Don took ill with the flu earlier this week and is sick in bed, unable to fly from Arizona here to accept the award. We offer him our best, and in his stead, we ask Bob Halligan to accept the award on Don's behalf, which we will get to Don as early as it is convenient for him to do so. Don Tarquin, distinguished alumnus.
Good evening, everyone. It is my great honor to present the CBA Distinguished Alumni Award to a truly remarkable individual, Dr. Russell Tracy. Dr. Tracy's journey is a testament to perseverance, intellectual curiosity, and dedication to the sciences. Guided by the foundational values his parents instilled in him, who were strong advocates of Catholic education, Russell became a part of the CBA community after a pivotal move from Long Island to Syracuse. Although Russell's time at CBA was brief, it was filled with impactful memories, commuting every day from Skinny Atlas with his dad, dropping his dad off at the Money Tower, and then heading off to CBA. Russell would wait every day after school, studying with newfound friends, before he would need to pick up his dad at the end of his day. He also became fast friends with the track team, running cross country his senior year. After graduating from CBA in 1967, Russell embarked on a rigorous academic path, earning a bachelor's in biology from Lemoyne College and then a PhD in biochemistry from Syracuse University. His dedication led him to prestigious postdoctoral work at the Mayo Clinic, where he achieved board certification with the American Board of Clinical Chemistry, setting him on a path to lead clinical chemistry laboratories across the United States. For over 30 years, Dr. Tracy has served as a faculty member at the University of Vermont, where he held dual appointments as professor of pathology and laboratory medicine and biochemistry. In that time, he built a reputation as an inquisitive, collaborative researcher, always pushing the boundaries of scientific discovery. His leadership has helped shape the field of molecular and genetic epidemiology, and his laboratory has developed new biomarkers that have become critical tools in clinical research and diagnostics. In 2019, he received the highest academic honor at the University of Vermont, the title of Distinguished Professor, recognizing his profound impact on research and education. Dr. Tracy's career has been nothing short of extraordinary, and his contributions to the world of biochemistry, clinical chemistry, and population-based science have had a profound impact not only on the scientific community, but on public health as a whole. His research focused on the complex interactions between coagulation, fibrinolysis, and inflammation, particularly how our innate and adaptive immune systems contribute to the development of major diseases like arteriosclerosis, coronary heart disease, diabetes, and even the complications of HIV. His work also extends into aging and understanding how these processes affect our health as we grow older. One of Dr. Tracy's most significant contributions in his role is the development of the high-sensitivity C-reactive protein test, a breakthrough now used around the world to assess inflammation and predict cardiovascular disease risk. His groundbreaking research has defined our understanding of how inflammation plays a pivotal role in diseases of the heart and the immune system, leading to new approaches in both prevention and treatment. Dr. Tracy's work has earned him widespread recognition. He is consistently funded by the National Institute of Health, which is a testament to the importance and innovation of his research. With over 850 published journal articles, wow, he has been named one of the world's most highly cited researchers, which placed him in the top 1% of cited scientists worldwide. Dr. Tracy's illustrious career is marked by numerous prestigious awards, each underscoring his remarkable contributions to science and medicine. Such accomplishments include the Ignatian Award for Professional Achievement from his alma mater, Lemoyne College, and the American Heart Association's Distinguished Scientist Award, acknowledging his significant advancements in cardiovascular science. He has also been recognized as a distinguished investigator by the Cardiovascular Research Institute of Vermont and has served on the University of Vermont's President's Advisory Council. Beyond his long list of accolades and groundbreaking discoveries, Dr. Tracy is a mentor, a leader, and an inspiration. Now an emeritus professor at the University of Vermont, Dr. Tracy continues to impact the fields of biochemistry and pathology. Our founder, St. John Baptist de La Salle, was quoted as saying to the Christian Brothers, "You are God's ministers. You are accountable for the souls of your students." This quote emphasizes the profound responsibility and dedication that educators and mentors have towards their students, reflecting the values of curiosity, integrity, and service, just as Dr. Tracy has throughout his career. He has guided generations of students, faculty, and colleagues with his insight, wisdom, and dedicated commitment to scientific excellence. He's a role model in his field, known not only for his brilliant ideas, but also for his generosity in collaboration and mentorship. Dr. Tracy, your lifelong dedication to advancing knowledge and improving lives through science has made an indelible mark on the world. We are incredibly proud to call you one of our own. On behalf of Christian Brothers Academy, it is my pleasure to recognize Dr. Russell Tracy for his exceptional achievements and to present him with this year's Distinguished Alumni Award.
Boy, it really sounds good when Anne Marie says it. Wow. Yeah, I'm going to have two surprises in my brief words. The first is that they'll be brief, and table 4 over here is full of my friends, and they're all going, "What in the hell? That guy's never brief. He's always talking for hours." So, but I'm going to be brief, so that's good. And the second is that we're at it's a quasi-state institution, the University of Vermont. It's not a fully state school, but we do get a budget from the state of Vermont to help us function. And so I consider it a nonprofit kind of state school. And it may be surprising to you, but one of the things I learned through my career is to not do stuff without first principles about what you're trying to achieve. CBA actually helped me develop that. I won't go into a whole lot of details, but it was my year here that first let me understand the necessary part of that, that there's something at the beginning of it that has to drive then what you're trying to do. Lemoyne helped a lot too in the same direction. The Jesuits were big that way. So we always had a mission statement, which sounds funny for an academic laboratory, but my junior faculty and technicians and students would all get sick of me saying it, but the way it went is we have a mission, and our mission is to improve the health of the people of the United States. And if you show up at my door and want some resources to do that mission, and you can't draw a line from what it is you want to do to that end point, doesn't have to be tomorrow, but you can't make even a dotted line to that end point, we ain't doing it. We're not committing any resources to it, and go find a different lab to work in. So it was the time at CBA and Lemoyne, those two together kind of bookended my understanding of the importance of that. Thank yous, anybody who gets an award like this knows that you got a list that it would drape over the end of the lectern to say thank you for. I point to my wife in particular because she has been a partner, a true partner. She's a PhD, a biochemist, and a very highly awarded person of her own right. And we have found ways to share and integrate what's necessary for families to be with people like us. And it's not always easy. Our kids still kid us about the conversations over dinner about how factor V is important in the coagulation system, and they say, "Can we talk about baseball? Can we talk?" But that's the way it was at our house, and so my thank yous are probably stop and there because there's too many other people that you want to say thank you to. I guess I'll add John Marshall, an old buddy from CBA who nominated me, and thank you, John, and certainly the crew that run this and make sure it runs correctly. They wanted to nominate me a couple years ago. I got liver cancer, and knock on wood, doing okay. The ground's still that way, so I'm pretty happy, and still working as an emeritus professor about 30% of the time. So it's an exciting time to be in science. Anybody that has students, come on, now's the time. It's extraordinary what's going on, and I just want to say thanks to CBA again for doing this and the opportunity to talk to the students. Okay, maybe not so brief, but there you go. And that's the best I got. Thank you very much.
My name is John O'Connor, class of 1985, and I'm here to introduce Cathal O'Connor, class of 1984, who also ran cross-country, indoor, and outdoor track with me. No, we're not related, but we did run together for 2 years. In fact, when I transitioned from running to training with the varsity as a sophomore, I can remember on more than one occasion where I was on a training run, running at a speed and a distance that was way beyond my capacity. There was always encouraging words from Cathal. And at the end of those runs, Cathal would greet me quietly and subtly and just say, "Well done." That's all I needed to know I belonged, was his well done. His leadership helped me become a better runner and to be a better team member for the younger runners that came after I matured. Kyle attended the University of Virginia after he graduated from CBA, where he rode crew on the lightweight 8 boat and received a Naval ROTC scholarship. He graduated with a degree in English and a minor in physics. He was commissioned as an ensign and reported to his first ship, the USS Farragut, which is in Norfolk, Virginia. During his 32-year career with the Navy, he served at sea for 14 years on 13 different warships. Ashore, he was an instructor at Newport, Rhode Island, and had 6 different assignments in the Pentagon. Overseas, he spent 6 years in Japan and a year and a half in Europe. He was fortunate, in his words, to command the warship Rushmore out of San Diego, the Amphibious Squadron 11 in Japan, and most impressively, he commanded the Expeditionary Strike Group 3. With his command of ESG-3, Admiral O'Connor commanded and was responsible for the lives of 3 amphibious squadrons, 8 naval support elements, 14 amphibious warships, which comprised 18,000 active duty and reserve sailors and Marines. He participated in Operation Restore Hope, Southern Watch, Enduring Freedom, Iraqi Freedom, and Tomodachi. As a commander, Admiral O'Connor was part of teams that conducted dozens of overseas deployments, hundreds of exercises with allies and partners, and provided disaster relief and humanitarian assistance following earthquakes and tsunamis and hurricanes in Taiwan, Indonesia, the Philippines, and Japan. Admiral O'Connor wrote about his experience with these humanitarian assistance experiences in an article entitled Foreign Humanitarian Assistance and Disaster Relief Ops, Lessons Learned and Best Practices. This particular article is included with the Naval War College syllabus. His article focuses on the unique ability of our military to support operations in crises, including collaborating with a multitude of organizations across the world: United Nations, Department of State, USAID, and local authorities. The article also addresses the importance of properly timing the transition from military involvement to civilian leadership. After commanding ESG-3, Admiral O'Connor was stationed at the Pentagon supporting the chairman and vice chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff and the chiefs of the Army, the Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps, and Space Force. Admiral O'Connor was the Chief of Staff for Strategy, Plans, and Policy. He led a team of 250 military and civilian specialists responsible for preparing the Chairman and the Secretary of Defense and advising the President on issues relating to China, Russia, Iran, terrorism, space, cyber, missile defense, and nuclear weapon policy. Plus, the global basing of forces and infrastructure in support of the national security defense. Pretty impressive. Cahill has been married to his bride Susie for over 26 years. He has 4 children, Jack, Michael, Megan, and Thomas, and his 6 grandkids. Today, he works internationally in the defense and security sector, furthering the goals of the U.S. government's national security policy. He retired from the Navy in 2021. Along the way, Admiral O'Connor received over 60 medals and ribbons, recognizing, in his words, the amazing performance of the sailors, Marines, soldiers, airmen, guardians, and civilians with whom he had the privilege to serve. Thank you for your service. Bravo Sulu. So on behalf of CBA, it is my honor to present Admiral Cahill O'Connor with the Distinguished Alumni Award.
Wow. Thank you, John, for that introduction. I cannot think of anyone I would rather have introduce me. Thanks, President Matt, for your leadership and for what you have done to this amazing place. Principal Paul, thank you, your teachers and staff for making CBA a place for young men and women to thrive. Thank you, Kevin and Patty, for your consideration. And thank you, Anne Marie, for all your assistance. For you, I'm wearing the uniform tonight. 3 things I would say. 1, I am humbled to be up here and not in the audience where I truly belong. 2nd, from the moment I stepped into the school yesterday, I am most grateful for the outpouring of Christian and Catholic love that I have received. And I think the only thing that I can do now is share a prayer that is very dear to my heart from my time in the Navy. Each night, Chaplain Jim Fisher would speak to the crew. He would come up and he would pick up the microphone, and in the darkness he would remind us that lives of service and self-sacrifice were both worthy goals and chosen paths. He would close each night the same way, saying, "Heavenly Father, may your Spirit descend upon this ship and all who sail on her and guide us safely through the night." And what I would just say for CBA is, Heavenly Father, may your Spirit descend upon CBA and all who pass through her doors and guide us safely through the days and nights to come. This we ask in your most holy name. Amen. Thank you.
Over the last few years, we have had the honor of recognizing many alums who have distinguished themselves in their careers and communities. These individuals were just regular folks who took an experience or an inspiration and turned it into something special. In 1854, Louis Pasteur wrote that, quote, "In the field of observation, chance favors only the prepared mind," end quote. I think that this prepared mind concept is also true for many of our honorees who head off onto various paths of career pursuit based on a chance encounter or event that they have experienced. They were ready for something that would ignite them, and when it happened, the result has led to extraordinary things. Dr. Kevin Hopkins had this type of experience. Before I elaborate on this idea, we must cover how Kevin got to that point in his career. Kevin attended CBA, as did his two brothers, Jim and Carrie. They and their two sisters were raised by their mom, who worked very hard to earn an income and raise and provide for her family. She made many sacrifices for her kids, and this is something Kevin remembers quite well. There were two priests who also played a key role in his development, and that of his siblings, Father McNamara and Father Julius Duncan, who was a Jesuit. Father Duncan was especially inspiring since he worked with people in need and also traveled around quite a bit. At CBA, Kevin was a member of the class of 1973, which is a class that has, through the years, been very loyal and attached to CBA, and they have stayed connected to one another. Kevin is the fourth member of this class to be honored as a distinguished alumnus. While at CBA, while being a very good student, he would be, as would be evidenced by his selection into the Brother Adolphus Honor Society, Kevin was a member of a very successful and tight-knit wrestling team. Coach Gary Barnaba was a phenomenal mentor, and not only our honoree, but to all of the team members. Other teachers that were memorable for Kevin were John Gensler, Dr. Myron Koch, and his Spanish teacher, Brother Eduardo Barros. Brother Eduardo must have been especially successful because, as I believe, that Kevin does a pretty good job communicating in Spanish. Kevin was also a pole vaulter on Jerry Reardon's track team, and he also delved into running on Coach Reardon's cross-country team. As a senior, Kevin gave boxing a try. I do not know how good he was at that, but I am betting college and med school were a better path. Outside of athletics, Kevin enjoyed playing guitar and writing music. He still enjoys drawing and traveling. The next chapter of Kevin's life was college, which took him to Boston. Science was long an interest of his and led him to an interest in medicine. From there, surgery piqued his interest, and he chose to pursue plastic surgery because the patient and others can see the results. The pursuit of craniomaxillofacial surgery resulted from a fellowship that Kevin had received at the International Craniofacial Institute in Dallas, Texas. This set him on his career path. Here he met Dr. Kenneth Salyer, who is the individual responsible for this particular career choice. Kevin has worked at Driscoll's Children's Hospital in Corpus Christi, Texas, where he works mostly with children with cleft palates and other facial deformities. Many of these children come from underprivileged and stressed socioeconomic backgrounds. This focus on helping those in need, especially the needy facing significant socioeconomic difficulties, became a driving force in Dr. Hopkins' career. Enter Ruhama Stadlander, a woman from Belize who Kevin met by chance as a result of a car fire. Ruhama was treated by Kevin at the hospital when he found out that she was on her way to make a humanitarian aid delivery of medical supplies to Belize, when she experienced the car fire. This is where that whole opening about the prepared mind comes in. This event started Kevin on his mission of bringing his talents and expertise to children in places where there was no availability of facial reconstruction and the like. So first it was Belize. Here, with Ruhama's help navigating the administrative technicalities that some of us would call red tape, Kevin set up shop to bring surgical assistance to children needing craniofacial surgery. His first operating room was in a British military remote hospital that was part of the British Army's jungle training facility in Belize. This definitely made the transition to foreign procedures easier for Kevin, as there was not just an operating room, but nurses, anesthesiologists, and equipment were all provided. After the British ended their jungle training commitment, Kevin was left to find a way to navigate the administrative requirements of operating in a foreign country and how to provide the medical attention to those who were in need. This is when the Small World Foundation was created. Dr. Hopkins needed an organization to handle paperwork, recruit medical personnel, fundraise, and disperse those funds in an effective and efficient manner. Medical equipment, surgical supplies, and medicines require quite a bit of cash. Creating this organization allowed the good doctor to continue his work, helping the less fortunate and impoverished get their smiles back. The other benefit of the Small World Foundation was that it allowed Kevin to branch out to other countries in Latin America, Africa, and the Middle East. Over time, for various reasons, Kevin moved on to another organization known as Smile Train, a different organization, but it had the same goals and purpose. By using an effective administrative organization, Kevin has been able to accomplish total care for his patients in these far-flung areas of the world. His goal is not to provide the surgery, but not just to provide the surgery, but he returns to provide the necessary follow-up care to ensure that the patients progress successfully and that everything ends up being right for them. The care and outreach to the disadvantaged, not only in Corpus Christi, but around the world, brings twofold benefits. First, there is the tangible result of the reconstructive surgery itself. Then there is the less tangible result, which is the improvement of the individual's psychosocial well-being. This only fuels Dr. Hopkins' passion to continue his work. In 2020, we all had heard about the COVID pandemic. This unfortunately brought a halt to the foreign missions, but not to the treatment for those at the Driscoll Children's Hospital. The work goes on to provide the care and the reconstructive procedures for the patients there. There is also the desire to resume the foreign outreach. The challenge is finding the right fit, which will allow Kevin to provide full care for the people he treats without the agendas and strings attached that various groups require. Too many organizations are great about getting the initial procedure done, but neglect the follow-up that is needed. While he is past retirement age, Kevin has no plans of retiring. Seems to be a common theme amongst our honorees. He finds his work too rewarding, and for the patients he serves, too necessary. While being an accomplished surgeon, he is also a thinker, or in today's parlance, an innovator. He is trying to develop an app that will aid in the diagnosis and therapy for craniofacial patients. It is an idea like going to Belize to perform reconstructive surgery for the poor and disadvantaged that needs to be acted upon, because as Kevin says, what good are ideas if you do not act upon them? The concern for others and the passion to act upon that concern harkens back to that most basic of Lassallean and Christian values that are front and center at CBA, caring for those among us who are in need of help. I think that Kevin Hopkins learned that lesson well. We here at CBA are honored to present you with a 2024 Distinguished Alumni Award. Kevin Hopkins.
Thank you very much. I'm so honored, and thank you for the committee for naming me there. I guess it just shows that if you send anonymous nominations long enough, it pays off. So just a word to the wise. But I shout out to my mom, Peggy O'Connor Hopkins, who'd be beaming right now, looking down on us. So she raised 5 kids by herself, and my siblings are here, Jim and Kelly and Carrie. My sister Karen couldn't make it tonight, but she instilled in us this love and inspiration of hard work and dedication, and she really inspired the love among us too. So my family too, they're key in my of my success in life. So thank you. I love you guys. Thank you. Also in CBA, you covered all my talk, so, so I really, what I've written in my personal statement is dedicated. My middle name is Sarsfield, which I'm very proud of because Dr. Sarsfield John O'Connor was CBA's first football coach. And he died, unfortunately, 2 months before I was born. But he always, my grandmother and my mom, we always instilled in us about CBA, about the education is just so much more than just, it's a spiritual growth, it's a community. So there's no doubt that we went to West Hill up until 9th grade, but there's no doubt that my brothers and I, and unfortunately my sisters, couldn't make it at the time because CBA hadn't changed it, hadn't admitted girls just yet. But we really, we were purple and gold all our lives. And my uncle Sars too, he was, my mom's brother had attended there too. But my multiple teachers, like I said, Dr. Koch and John Gensler and Brother Eduardo, but also Gary Barnaba made a huge influence on me with our wrestling team, especially because he led a group of like misfits into undefeated team for several years. And several of my wrestling mates are here, and also actually my classmates are too, which I really, really appreciate them coming today too, that we are truly our brothers. I mean, we're still in touch. A lot of us remain in touch and close friends for these years there, which it's CBA instilled that in us, that we were the love and the inspiration that kept us together forever. I do want to thank, also remember from a lot of my international travels there, I was inspired by these Jesuit missionaries. My cousin was a missionary nun, my mom's cousin, missionary nun, a sister in Bolivia, and I always had the heart to really reach out and help others there. It's not just a geographic accident that we're born here and somebody else is born in the other country. So I really feel, I wish that, if the situation reversed, that someone would come and give us a leg up, give them a leg up to help with surgery. So that's my inspiration, is just to really the Lasallian doctrine there. I want to thank my wife Seema, who every day is an inspiration to me, and she faces just makes every day count. She's very loving and supportive of me. She's in her own right. She's a photojournalist and a filmmaker and journalist, and she's dedicated to giving voice to the voiceless around the world. She's amazing inspiration. Her mom, my mother-in-law Rupa, is here. It's her birthday today, so happy birthday to her. And then, but I do want to remember one other one of my heroes, my fellow classmate, is Dr. Bob Karski, who was he was one of the track stars of CBA and went on to join the Peace Corps. And then he got his PhD, he came back, he was in soil science, and he went back, he dedicated his life in Western Africa to initiatives for raising rice and food for the people there. A tremendous giving, caring guy that I figured one day we'd be working together someplace in some far out place, but unfortunately, actually 20 years ago this Monday, he was killed in Ivory Coast with an uprising there that just happened. He had just moved there for 2 days before that, and he was done. But I don't know if he's a distinguished alumni, but he certainly deserves the guy that helps so many people. But I really appreciate that you're recognizing me for my work. I'm overwhelmed by this, but thank you very much. And CBA truly was laid the groundwork for all this in my education, gave it a leg up for that, and I fall back on many principles I learned from CBA to this day. So thank you very much.
With this introduction, I get to welcome the Distinguished Alumni Award to the 21st century, as Elizabeth Sheridan is our first alumnus from this century to be honored. I'm going to open with a quote from St. John Baptist de La Salle that was shared with me by a former colleague when asked about Elizabeth. One of de La Salle's writings, entitled Meditations for Sundays and Feast Days, guides readers through the liturgical calendar. For the feast of the Jesuit saint and explorer, St. Francis Xavier, He asks us to, quote, be warm-hearted to everyone, speaking to others in a gentle and respectful way. The more humble people are, the more God accomplishes great things through them. This indeed could apply to Elizabeth. Elizabeth rang out the 20th century and rang in the 21st century during her matriculation at CBA. She was inspired to visit CBA since her father was an alumnus. She decided the academy was right for her upon her be a brother for a day visit prior to her freshman year. When she got to shadow her good friend Claire Bigelow and see how the school operated. From there, she dove into the academic and extracurricular life of the school. A serious student who was selected to be a member of the National Honor Society, Elizabeth was also fully engaged in the fabric of school life. As a new ninth grader, she merged nicely with those who had been in attendance since junior high. Choosing to run for Homer representative to the Student Senate, Elizabeth won that election, which was a surprise to her as the new kid in town. It probably should not have been that surprising. Elizabeth, have you ever met yourself? And furthermore, rumor has it that you delivered a pretty impressive campaign speech to your homeroom. As a senior, she was elected as president of the Student Senate. Athletically, Elizabeth was part of highly successful championship tennis teams, where she played doubles with her good friend, the aforementioned Claire Bigelow, and she was a member of the volleyball team, which won the first sectional and state titles in program history. Elizabeth has found time to participate in Spanish Club, yearbook staff, Amnesty International, campus ministry, and the Lasallian Youth Group. I believe we can characterize this as a pretty full and well-rounded high school experience. It was really only a sign of things to come. Elizabeth was quick to point out that CBA provided the opportunity to pursue these interests and prepared her very well for her future endeavors. In her studies after CBA, which started with college at Wake Forest and continued at many different places after that, Elizabeth started out with the goal of becoming a pediatrician. However, her calling went in another direction after meeting a 2-year-old boy whom she calls Little John. Little John was an autistic child, and his family was working with an intervention team to develop strategies to successfully navigate his social and behavioral challenges and optimize his quality of life. Elizabeth's journey to becoming a child psychologist focused on autism started when she was an undergraduate therapist on Little John's team. And over 20 years later, she is grateful to keep in close touch with now not so little John and his family. Autism affects children and families from all walks of life, from all places, and those with socioeconomic challenges face greater obstacles. The healthcare realities are that those from socioeconomically disadvantaged populations face inequities in getting effective healthcare and guidance, and for children with autism and their families, this is especially acute. This is the challenge that Elizabeth decided to focus on. Her studies from this point, well documented in the program, became focused on this new career path. The path brought her to be the director of the clinical core at the A.J. Drexel Autism Institute in Philadelphia. I just made that sound quicker and easier than it probably actually was. But we're short of time. Dr. Sheridan is the director. She is also the professor. She's a grant writer. She's a student mentor. She's a colleague mentor. She's a researcher, counselor, clinician, and I probably missed a few here, but you get the picture. She is busy, committed, and always upbeat. Her goal and that of the program at Drexel is to develop evidence-based approaches and methodologies for helping autistic children and their parents cope with and thrive across the lifespan of the individual. This is not always easy with the abundance of misinformation at our fingertips on the internet. The primary focus for the Drexel Autism Research Institute is to use a public health approach to better understand autism across the lifespan and improve the quality of life for autistic people, especially from underserved areas in and around Philadelphia. But the outreach goes further. It goes to the greater community and to the rest of the world. Elizabeth has traveled extensively to present the work being done at Drexel. There are also international Zoom presentations and trainings like the ADOS 2 workshops that bring in clinicians, therapists, researchers, and the like from around the world to learn best practices for autism assessment across the lifespan. This is a virtual training program, has recently surpassed 1,000 trainees, including clinicians and researchers from all 50 states and 22 countries around the globe. These opportunities bring the participants up-to-date strategies to improve the approaches for autism in their part of the world. When I talk to Elizabeth, I, who am not easily impressed, am truly impressed by her energy, enthusiasm, focus, and commitment, while also living a pretty normal life. While she travels for work, she's able to loop in some enjoyment as well. She's had her parents join her, and she and her husband Mike have shared many travel experiences around various presentation journeys. Some trips have nothing to do with work, hence the normal part of Elizabeth's life. She and Mike like to return to New York City to take in a Broadway show or a concert. They also like to hike and explore the areas that they are traveling in. Also, she plays tennis and she runs for fun. If that's a thing, I don't know. And they both enjoy going to ball games. When asked about the challenges of her full career plate, Elizabeth quoted Peter Pan to me. "Nothing is really work unless you want to do something else." She is doing what she loves, making things better for each of her kids and their families. But she is really reaching further than that. Her work helps kids and families across the globe, and that is no exaggeration. Here is truly a life focused on helping others meet their needs, trying to make the world a little bit better. On an evening where we recognize truly extraordinary individuals who have achieved much in their fields and communities, Elizabeth has thrown down the gauntlet to the rest of our 21st century alumni to carry forth, to strive to be good and to do good, and to be warm-hearted and humble. The torch from the 20th century alums is being carried forth. We are honored and humbled ourselves to be able to present Elizabeth Sheridan with a CBA Distinguished Alumni Award. Elizabeth?
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Conroy, for that generous and very kind introduction. Getting a phone call from your high school homeroom teacher at night, on a weeknight when you're in an office writing a grant, is a surprise. I don't often get 315 phone numbers, so I picked it up, and he shared this news, which was overwhelming and kind, and I'm just so grateful to be here and that we had a chance to reconnect over the last few months to share all of that stuff you just learned. So I'm really honored and humbled by this recognition. Congratulations to my fellow inductees, and a heartfelt thank you to the awards committee for bringing us together to reflect and celebrate the impact that CBA has had on our lives. My connection to CBA, as you heard, starts with my father, Dr. Donald Thomas Sheridan, CBA class of 1965. Both he and my mother, Ann Rapson Sheridan, have had an enormous influence on my life, and I'm grateful for the support they've consistently shown me and my siblings who are here. I have a new appreciation for the little things our parents did for us as we grew up, which if you're a parent of adolescents at any time, you realize might come with eye rolls, sighs, and groans. The little things that kids, don't want their parents to make them do. In our house, those things looked like going around the dinner table every night and telling each other what the best part of your day was and what the worst part of your day was. Moving us out to Atisco Lake in the summer when all of our friends were actually at Carousel Mall or hanging out at the movie theater, and we had to play Yahtzee and Uno or other, family things on this beautiful lake that we really did not want to be on at the time, that we all now love as adults. Also, the rotating bedrooms every night to say our family prayers. That was a foundational thing in our house that now I truly appreciate as an adult. Finally, the last thing that stands out to me is they showed up every single event. You just heard I had a pretty busy high school career, and they showed up every sporting event. If it was a tennis match or a volleyball match an hour away each way, they were there. And I recognize now as an adult with your busy careers and raising your family what that means. So thank you. We love you so much. Okay, I got through that. Whew. All right, to my siblings, Maureen, Kathleen, and Michael, thank you for consistently supporting me across the many peaks and valleys of my life and my career. Another heartfelt thank you to incredible friends who have been there for me, two of whom are here tonight, Kathleen and Claire. I'm so grateful. My dad has always told us you can't make new old friends, and we've shared decades together, some of which are highlighted here as nice surprises from our yearbook. So thank you for those memories, and I cherish our decades together of friendship. When I reflect back on our Randall Road time, it was really yesterday when several of us went back to school and got to meet the current students and talk about our careers and answer questions that they might have. My takeaway from yesterday was across the careers represented that include many of whom you've heard from tonight already: science, academia, medicine, law. There was a common thread there, which is the LaSallian core values of giving back to your community and caring deeply about your fellow human beings. And boy, were we lucky to all be shaped by that across decades of graduation years. That was the common theme that kept coming up yesterday. These principles guided me through the experiences you just heard at Wake Forest, UAB, UNC, and Emory. It was a long road, and now that I'm a faculty member at Drexel, I have the privilege of wearing many hats, some of which you just heard about, but the one that's most important to me is the training and teaching that I get to do to this inspiring generation of clinicians and researchers who care deeply about supporting autistic people and want to be there for people that have developmental disabilities or need that support. There's a saying that says, someone you know loves someone with autism. Yesterday at the school, I actually asked people to raise their hand if they knew or loved somebody with autism, and more than half the room did that. And I'm inspired to be able to work with these students who really want to make a difference in the world, and that is just a really special thing that I get to do every day, which I'm forever grateful for. I want to acknowledge a big supporter of my work who actually works in a very different field, though shares my home, and is my biggest cheerleader, my husband, Michael Shenik Jr. Many of you know Michael, also known as Cub, Mike, or Shenik, depending on when you met him, as a class of 2002 CBA alum. Life has a funny way of coming full circle sometimes in ways you'd never expect, including marrying a guy from your St. Anne's preschool days. Flash forward 30-ish years from those playdates at St. Anne's and in Winkworth, and we had our wedding at St. Anne's, which was really special, and it was moderated. Gosh, can you tell I'm an academic? It was officiated by Monsignor Yezel, whom many of you know. And both of us, I remember the moment of our wedding ceremony when he quoted in his homily Albert Schweitzer, who says, "Those only will be happy who sought and found ways to make other people's lives better." That message has nice parallels to the teachings of St. John Baptist de La Salle, who we've heard many themes about tonight already. And it meant a lot to us on our special day. Some of the pictures that were dug up there, including the one of us in our brothers' t-shirts, you might see a guy in a visor a few rows back, and that was my now husband hanging out on Friday Night Lights with us, which was pretty neat to decades later. We share our home, and he is the biggest supporter of my career, which is sometimes really challenging and complicated. So I am forever grateful that you are my biggest cheerleader, and I'm not gonna cry. I'm also incredibly grateful to my wonderful mother-in-law, Mary Beth Shenik, who's with us tonight, Cub's late father, Michael Shenik Sr., for raising such an incredible son, in addition to his siblings, Matthew, Sarah Beth, and Haley, who's also here, and to the extended Shenik and Windrell families, many of whom also are CBA alums. I hit the in-law jackpot, and I am fortunate to be part of your family. In closing, thank you again for this honor, which I share with my family, friends, godchildren, teachers, colleagues, and patients whose support has been invaluable during my days on Randall Road and beyond. I am blessed to be part of this CBA family and look forward to continuing to support this great school for many years to come. Thank you.
God has chosen you to do this work. Fulfill your ministry with all the affection in your heart. St. John Baptist in La Salle. When he arrived at the new CBA on Randall Road in the fall of 1963, Brian DeJoseph was all in, a place he picked for himself in 4th grade after attending a football game with his dad. Although he was not a straight A student or a Division I athlete, he participated at all levels and relished every opportunity, both during the school day and into the evenings. He was a member of a legendary track team of Coach Jerry Reardon who's been mentioned a couple of other times this evening. And while not the fastest or the tallest among the athletes who competed, Brian was presented with the Joseph McNeil Award his senior year for loyalty and service to the program. And it was Brother Bazillion, freshman algebra teacher and track moderator, of whom he was most fond among the brothers at the school. The affection in his heart for the brothers, their teachings, his classmates and coaches would inform the work that became Brian's ministry. As with most of us, however, there were shenanigans. Brian shared a funny, although incriminating, high school story with John Sindoni and me when we met a few weeks ago. Without proffering too many details, it had something to do with unclad athletes jumping into a supposedly empty pool after an indoor track meet. They entered in height order, guess who was first, and ended up the only swimmer. The female lifeguard handed him a towel and ushered him out the door. Priceless. Despite the humiliation of that moment, he remains best friends with those classmates to this day. After CBA, Brian traveled up the hill to Syracuse University, where he earned a BA in economics and his law degree. Soon after, he joined a law firm as an associate and even started up his own firm with good friend Jack Brandt. But that employment would not stand the test of time as a vocation for this young, good-hearted, wise beyond his years Syracuse native. He received a call one Good Friday in April 1981 from Joseph Fahey, at the time a criminal defense attorney. His father, Judge James Fahey, had died, and there would be a vacancy on Syracuse City Court that Joe suggested would be a great fit for Brian. He was soon appointed on the position by Mayor Lee Alexander and actually tried a case his very first day on the job, ruling from the bench. He was 32 years old and the youngest judge to ever sit in that court. That fall, he was elected to the position for a 10-year term, and soon after, in 1987, he was designated chief judge of the Syracuse City Court, and in 1991 was elected to a second 10-year term. It wasn't easy, but clearly the Honorable Brian DeJoseph was cut out for this work. In 1994, Brian DeJoseph threw his hat in the ring for New York State Supreme Court in a 4-person race. He lost. A fan among those who he had campaigned for proclaimed, "I'm the guy who voted for you." We think it was his brother, Bernie. It wasn't pretty. But Judge DeJoseph moved on from the defeat. His reputation in city court, his tenacity and endurance brought him a victory in that same ring when he was elected to New York State Supreme Court in 2000. To a certain extent, he credits his CBA guys, the ones he went to high school with and grew up alongside, for looking out for him, writing letters and postcards, and knocking on doors. There was also a trip to Utica with his beautiful wife, Stephanie, to bring lunch to influencers in that town. Hand-delivered sandwiches served up on Columbus bakery bread. He also appreciates the involvement of his 3 daughters, all CBA alums, who are here tonight, whose connections and hard work helped make the difference in his campaigns. In 2014, Governor Andrew Cuomo appointed Judge Brian DeJoseph to the Appellate Division of the New York State Supreme Court, a demanding and rewarding position he served for 8 years. In all, the Honorable Brian DeJoseph served an impressive 41 years on the bench. Along the way, Judge DeJoseph served his community as a volunteer in various capacities, from local and statewide judicial committees to a frequent speaker at various venues, local schools, and neighborhoods. The list of civic organizations he has been involved with is lengthy and includes MESA of New York and L'Arch of Syracuse, which address the needs of individuals who have developmental disabilities. He served his country as a member of the New York State Army National Guard from 1970 to 1976. Through the years, Judge DeJoseph has demonstrated his commitment to the next generation of lawyers. through mentorship, instruction, and internships. Among those attorneys shaped by Judge DeJoseph is Timothy McMahon, who's here tonight, who served as DeJoseph's principal law clerk for 11 years, beginning in New York State Supreme Court in 2011. When interviewed, Tim McMahon proclaimed an extraordinary admission since he is now a partner at a prestigious Syracuse law firm. Quote, "If Judge DeJoseph called on me today and said, 'I'm putting the robe back on and I want you by my side,' I would say yes, anywhere in the world." Looking back on the experience with DeJoseph, Tim said he learned that work ethic often surpasses experiences. "Experience can always be acquired," says Tim. "I wasn't hired because I had all the answers. The judge wanted someone who'd be willing to work with him to help him find the answers. His formula is to scrupulously review all the submissions in law to get it right. You can't force a result, but work diligently to get the right one." Tim also said he knew that with every decision, Judge DeJoseph knew that with every decision, at the most, 50% of those involved would be happy with it. But that didn't bother him. He did due diligence and he was comfortable with the decisions he made, no matter how popular or unpopular they were. This is the hallmark of Judge DeJoseph's judicial philosophy. Tim also shared a personal experience with Brian. In 2017, he ran for judge in the town of Manlius, working his butt off going door to door against a 25-year incumbent. Tim lost, and it hurt. The voicemail Judge DeJoseph left on Tim's phone telling him how proud he was of him, of his courage, is something Tim keeps on his phone to this day as a reminder of a mentor that genuinely cared. The judge's words were the right words at the right time. For his outstanding career as a lifelong jurist, whose fairness is renowned, whose strength is respected, whose vulnerability endears both friend and foe alike. For his demonstrated love of family, community, and country, and for his devotion to the enduring Lasallian values imbued in his heart at his alma mater. Christian Brothers Academy is proud to recognize the Honorable Brian DeJoseph, class of 1967, with a 2024 Distinguished Alumni Award.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the very, very kind introduction. Let me start by recognizing and congratulating my fellow honorees. Believe me, I am honored and humbled to be included with such a diverse, interesting, and accomplished group of people. Congratulations to you. And to my classmate, Dr. Russell Tracy. You know, Russ, everyone knew that you were very smart. But what we didn't know is that we had a genius in our midst. You have done truly remarkable work through your career, and my humblest and sincerest congratulations to you. There are a couple of faculty members that I would like to acknowledge. And the first person really needs no introduction. He is probably one of the most well-known names and faces in the Syracuse community. And I'm talking about Emil Rossi, who forged a career as a highly successful criminal defense lawyer, probably the preeminent criminal defense lawyer in upstate New York. Before he embarked on that remarkable career as a lawyer, he was a wonderful teacher right here at CBA. And I was lucky enough to sit in his English class as a freshman back in 1963. We have maintained a relationship all these years. He has given me great advice, wise counsel, and to call our relationship as a friendship, I think really understates it. I'd like to think of Elmo more as a brother than as a friend, and he is here tonight, and I am so very grateful that you're here, Elmo. Thank you. The other person, unfortunately, can't be here tonight, and I'm now talking about Coach Jerry Reardon. I heard from his son a couple of days ago. Because of family commitments, Jerry can't be here tonight. I was one of the hundreds of people that Jerry recruited to run on his track and cross-country teams. He put us up on the track, he ran us there, he ran us on the hills behind the school, in the roads all over the town of DeWitt. We ran in St. Mary's Cemetery. We ran on hot days and cold days, rainy days and snowy days. And Jerry was with us every step of the way. Just a remarkable man. He gave us confidence that we really didn't know we had. He was a remarkable guy. And he convinced us that we could win. And did we ever win? We had a streak going in the 60s and 70s that will never be duplicated. Dual meets, invitational meets, not just in Syracuse, but all over the state of New York. Nobody could beat CBA. We were just untouchable. And it was because of Jerry Reardon. I'm sad that he's not here tonight, but Jerry, in your absence, I salute you. And I wish you many, many more years of good health and happiness. God bless that man. He's 92 years old and still going strong. I want one more minute to boast about my family. I've come to appreciate that if you have a stable and happy home life, that everything else just takes care of itself. That was certainly true in my case, and due in part to 3 wonderful daughters that I have. They're here tonight. They brought joy, love, and lots of laughter into our household. They have wonderful husbands. They have grown into very strong, independent, and highly successful women. I am just madly in love with them and just so proud to be their father. And by the way, they're all CBA grads. And grandchildren. I'm very fortunate to have 3 grandchildren. Our oldest, Tess, she's 13, she lives in Charlotte. And unfortunately, it was just impossible for her to be here tonight. But our twins are here, Henry and Lola, they're back there. Those 3 kids have brought joy and happiness into our life that is just immeasurable. In fact, Stephanie and I have often said that if we knew that having grandchildren was so great, we'd have skipped over our own kids and gone directly to the grandchildren. And my wife. Those of you who know Stephanie know really what a truly remarkable woman she is. She has a heart, an enormous heart, filled with love and kindness. She is so generous with her time and her many talents. She should be honored here tonight. I'm telling you, there is no way I would be standing here without her love and unconditional support for almost 50 years now. You're the best. And to all of you here tonight, I thank you for being here. This is a special night, but you've made it more special. It's more special when you can share it with your family, with your friends, and with the CBA community. So thank you so much for coming. And to CBA, I say thank you thank you, and thank you. Thank you what you've done for me, what you've done for my family, and what you've done for this community. You've made it a better place to live. Thank you, CBA, and go Brothers.
Up until this year, it has been the purpose of the Distinguished Alumni Award to recognize individual alumni who have achieved distinction in their careers and personal lives through achievement of success and service to family and community. However, Christian Brothers Academy values and recognizes the importance of the strong alliances and legacies that distinguished alumni members have built within our community and around the globe. These connections and accomplishments might be based on family or shared corporate or service vision or the all-encompassing brothers bond that pervades across aisles, across classes, and across generations. Additionally, while we rely heavily on nominations for our research, the Distinguished Alumni Committee intentionally looked back in history for the very early years of Christian Brothers Academy. We want to do our best to discover and recognize alumni from bygone eras, those long gone from this world, but who have left their distinguished mark. Unfortunately, with the resources at our disposal, we've not been able to build a substantial set of dossiers for nominees from the early 20th century, 1900s. This year, in researching a nomination that came in, it became apparent that a group of alumni, some of the earliest days of CBA on Willow Street, has achieved such success in their lives and careers and has done so in concert. We were presented with a century-old, multi-generational alumni family and their company who, as defined by the criteria for the Distinguished Alumni Award, demonstrated active volunteer engagement, positive community and/or professional impact, and values and character in the spirit of St. John Baptist de La Salle. The DAA committee discussed this nomination, the intention of the award, and the nature of the CBA community, and we unanimously concurred that we should expand the award and create a group recognition of excellence to be given on occasion and as determined by the committee and in conjunction with CBA school leadership. Tonight, it is our pleasure to present the inaugural recipients of this special award. When the Distinguished Alumni Committee received the unique nomination for the Steigerwald family and their century-old company, Cathedral Candle, we were struck by their impressive family and company legacy. This evening, we are pleased to honor 4 members of the Steigerwald family. Louis J. Steigerwald Sr., class of 1917, deceased. Carl J. Steigerwald, class of 1922, deceased. Louis J. Steigerwald III, class of 1972, and Mark F. Steigerwald, class of 1975. Lou and Mark are here tonight. They are here with family, colleagues, and CBA classmates who remain their dearest friends a half-century after they graduated. We must also mention another LaSallian graduate in the family, Louis J. Steigerwald Jr., who was the father of Lou and Mark, started high school at CBA Syracuse, but transferred to LaSalle Military Academy in Oakdale, Long Island, graduating there in 1942 in anticipation of enlisting with the Army Air Corps during World War II, which he did. And tonight we also welcome Jacob's great-great-grandson, L. John Steigerwald IV, who serves alongside his father and uncle as vice president of the company. If you will kindly oblige me, I'm going to try this with my voice. Let's see. My proud German heritage, my maiden name is Wenzel. I just married an Irishman. Inspired me to make an attempt at pronouncing a German phrase, which is the mission of Cathedral Candle Company and that of the Steigerwald family. Den religiösen Glauben mit der lebendigen Flamme entzünden. And that means to light religious faith with the living flame. How well this phrase and images dovetail with the following quote from St. John Baptist de La Salle. God of love, set me aflame for love for you and for my neighbor. And how well the mission of the Steigerwald family and their company demonstrates in full force the mission of LaSalle to care for each other while loving God. To put the significance of Cathedral Candles Company history and the work of its founder and its heirs in context, I'd like to share a little bit about how a church candle company landed in Syracuse and lasted more than a century, and their future remains bright. In the mid and late 19th century, after salt and beer, the third most prominent industry in the former village of Salina, north of Syracuse, was candles. And like the breweries and cooperage, wooden barrels, businesses at that time, the production of candles was dominated by German immigrants, who, at that time, were the largest ethnic group in Syracuse. In 1880, Francis Baumer, a former school teacher and Bavarian immigrant, boarded a boat bound for his ancestral home, where he recruited one Jacob Steigerwald, a young Bavarian candle designer, to come to the U.S. to supervise production at Francis Baumer Candle Company. When Baumer merged with Eckerman and Will to serve a diverse American market, at that time in dire need of candles as a primary means of illumination, Jacob Steigerwald providentially took a step back. Guided by the Einfluss of German monasteries with whom he had studied back in Germany, who were helping to revive the religious symbolism of the Middle Ages, Jacob made a decisive move to establish Cathedral Candle in 1897 with the purpose of exclusively making church candles. To this day, the company remains in the same location on Kirkpatrick Street and still makes only church candles, employing molds, presses, and inventive automation devices built to Jacob Steigerwald's specifications. Those devices alongside sophisticated modernized equipment. Today, Cathedral Candle is the oldest continually operating family-owned candle manufacturer in the United States. The employees, many of whom live in the neighborhood of the factory, produce specialty candles by a traditional hand-dipping process combining art, manufacturing, and science. Through the Great Depression, World Wars, and 2 pandemics, the Steigerwalds kept their employees on the payroll. They are family. And by the way, today's Northside neighborhood is home to many nations, representing a diverse array of language, culture, and ethnicities. New Americans from the Democratic Republic of Congo, Sudan, Somalia, Burma, Nepal, Bhutan, Vietnam, and Eastern Europe are the people of today's North Side. These are the people who work at Cathedral Candle Company. The company is an anchor to its North Side neighborhood, providing employment opportunities, an architecturally beautiful, well cared for, and historically significant facility, and a caring, giving environment for its Cathedral family and neighbors. At the time of its most recent expansion in 2018, Syracuse Mayor Ben Walsh said, quote, "I've said to them, I wish we could clone them. I wish we had 100 more Cathedral candles, but we're lucky to have the one that we do here. We're going to continue to partner with them and continue to help them grow and remain on the North Side." At a recent visit, Ed Moses, class of '61, and I marveled at the physical environment of the factory, the cleanliness of the grounds and the streets surrounding it. The symbolism here, much like that of the candle as the light of Christ, speaks volumes to the neighbors and visitors in this economically challenged area of our fair city. One wonders which brothers visited the factory through the years in search of that special candle, to thank a member of the Steigerwald family, or perhaps to seek out a potential student. In every box of beeswax altar candles, Cathedral encloses a card which says, "True to the tenets of early Christian ages, the light these beeswax candles bring to a church signifies the presence of Christ." And it concludes, "The lighting of them expresses the spiritual meaning. Your light comes and the splendor of the Lord goes over you." From Ground Zero to Rome, from Philadelphia to Kirkpatrick Street, to Willow Street, to Randall Road, lighting the paths of Pope Benedict XVI, Pope Francis, St. Mother Teresa, archbishops, monsignors, priests, brothers and sisters, and the students of Christian Brothers Academy, Cathedral candles have adorned altars and memorials across the globe, illuminating the light of Christ. The CBA connection was initiated back in the early decades of the 20th century when company founder Jacob Steigerwald insisted that his sons attend that new school run by the Christian Brothers on Willow Street. Those sons, Louis Sr. and Carl, later took over the reins of the company, further defining its niche in the realm of church candles, maintaining its devotion to the people of the North Side and giving back to their alma mater. That long-standing LaSallian connection continues to this day with the great-grandsons of Jacob, Louis III, and Mark. Indulge me 1 second, I asked about the German thing. But a matter close to my heart, beginning with Louis Steigerwald Sr., the family support of CBA has been stalwart. In the 50s, Lou Sr. was an active member of the CBA Board of Directors. In January of 1959, an announcement in the Syracuse Post-Standard proclaimed that a building appeal was underway to fund a new CBA campus, and that a meeting was to be held to report on progress of the alumni phase of the campaign. The co-chairs of the alumni phase were none other than Louis Steigerwald, class of 17, and John Lynch, whose name you may recognize, AFSC, class of 30. $84,000 was received from 32 leadership gifts. That averages $2,650 a person. A month later, in the Sunday Post-Standard, the co-chairs announced that they had passed the halfway mark. This is all in the Post-Standard campaign reports. Colonels, captains, and workers on the drive were meeting in the school cafeteria at 7:30 on Tuesday. Does that sound familiar? Some things never change. The fund drive was successful, and the new campus on Randall Road opened in the fall of 1961. Christian Brothers Academy, Cathedral Candle Company, and the Steigerwalds have grown and changed with the times, all while maintaining their commitments to the visions of their founding fathers. The fourth generation of Steigerwalds, Lou and Mark, continued the legacy of giving through the latter part of the 20th century and now into the 21st century. From special efforts to the annual fund to the alumni golf outing, and I believe their most ardent gift was the one they hoped would not only benefit CBA, but perhaps their beloved employees. They invested in a perpetual scholarship for a CBA student, preferably hailing from that geographic area around Fitzpatrick Street, and in honor of the employees of the company. As a result of that investment, dozens of CBA students have benefited from the generosity of the Steigerwald family for decades. St. John Baptist de La Salle is said to have performed many miracles during his lifetime, and one of the most famous is the story of the candle that never went out. According to legend, during a severe storm, the brothers were gathered together in the chapel when they realized they had forgotten to bring their candles. St. John Baptist de La Salle instructed them to light the candles that were on the altar, and miraculously, the candles never went out, even though the storm raged outside. God of love, set me aflame with love for you and for my neighbors. This prayer of St. LaSalle has been answered at Cathedral Candle Company among the steadfast, fiercely loyal, providential, forward-looking leadership of the Steigerwalds, and alongside the talented, local, diverse men and women who do God's work on the factory floor. May the influence and appreciation of St. LaSalle continue on Kilpatrick Street and in the lives of the Steigerwald family and their family of employees. May the candles never go out, despite the storm, and may the flame that is Christ's sacrifice continue to burn with love for each and every one of them. It is with gratitude and appreciation for their contributions to Syracuse and its inhabitants, to Christian Brothers Academy through more than a century of generous support, and to the thousands of churches and their pastors and parishioners around the globe who benefit from their steadfast adherence to faith traditions, respecting the past and embracing the future, that we honor Cathedral Candle Company, Louis Sr., Carl, Louis III, and Mark Steigerwald with the 2024 Distinguished Alumni Award. You got the mic, guys.
Well, one of the scary things for an audience is to have the recipient step up the microphone and unwrap a piece of paper, but this is a small one. I'm going to keep it hopefully brief and to the point, and this will kind of serve as my teleprompter here. We, and when I say we, I'm talking about Cathedral Candle Company, our employees, and the Steigerwald family. I want to thank you, Patty. Thought you did a wonderful job. Thank you very much. Matt, the committee, and really everybody at CBA, everybody who's here tonight, but CBA in particular. We thank you. As a company and family, we are honored and humbled to be recognized amongst all these other outstanding recipients tonight, which you've heard from. It's an amazing group, but again, it's a testament to CBA and what CBA has done for all of us and consistently does for the community and has for many, many, many years. And most importantly, we're thankful to the salient experience, education, and the values that we learned through the connection to CBA. And these are values that have served as a compass for us and the company for 5 generations, as Patty pointed out. And I think we've got some young students here sitting at the table over there, and when I was your age, I had no idea that I was building a compass, but you are now too. And you've got a great community here to help you build that, and you carry it with you. It's served us well for a long time. And we're grateful and blessed for the opportunity and ability to be a contributing part of the wonderful community we have. One of the values of St. John Baptist was the sense of community, and that's been mentioned a number of times tonight. And the obligation and responsibility we all have to our community to make it better. And again, we thank you very, very much, and I appreciate everybody coming tonight. I even see some neighbors that are here and some employees at Cathedral Candle Company. So thank you all. We appreciate it. And thank you to CBA.
I'd just like to add some words that will resonate as very familiar to all the alumni here tonight, as well as the current students. But as said earlier, join with me. St. John Baptist de La Salle, live Jesus in our hearts. Amen.